Scientists condemn professor's morally reprehensible talk. So there you go. It's literally only a question of probably hours, days. This unfortunate professor will be slung out on his ear. Simple as that. For telling the truth. So here we have more than 1,600 scientists have so far signed a statement condemning the remarks of the Italian researcher who stated that physics was built by men. You see, I think there's an idiot in America, another woman, a real beast of a she's a professor apparently. She said something, I can't remember what it is. I think Tucker Carlson's covered it. And when these people say things that are really, really horrendous and out of order, they don't lose their jobs. This guy's going to lose his job. I can put good money on it. He will lose his job. Because, and there was a woman who said, there was a professor, another professor, a female professor said, why shouldn't we hate men? Or why should we not hate men, or something to that effect? And then gave a literally nasty and very evil statement of why men should not exist, to that effect. So what's been done about the professor? Nothing. Zero. Zilch. But this guy, he's going to lose his job. It's just a question of when. So this professor presented an analysis to an audience of predominantly young female physicists, which he claimed proved women were less capable at the subject than men. I don't think he said that. The statement at particleforjustice.org says the professor's talk was fundamentally unsound and was followed by open discrimination and personal attacks. So, what is fundamentally unsound? When, for the number of years, physics was built by men, and then they followed by saying open discrimination and personal attacks. So in response, the professor told BBC News that the high energy physics community was about 100 times bigger than the number that have so far signed the statement. He said that the signatories mostly came from these countries more affected by political correctness, which I indicated as the problem, which is true. This is what leads to academians or whatever that want to get others fired for having morally reprehensible ideas. Morally reprehensible ideas. So, which is what he's, it's true. The Pisa University affiliated researcher made his comments first reported by the BBC during a workshop of the European Organisation for Nuclear Research. The lab at the Franco-Swiss border that discovered the Higgs boson. So they've since suspended his participation from any activities at the lab. You see, what you've got to understand, those 1,600 scientists, many of them, depending on what they're doing, if they're connected to the West, especially, will probably may actually probably agree with what he's saying. But holy sweet Christmas, there's no way they can openly agree to what he's saying. They're not going to do it. Simple as that. The feminist movement has literally got every sort of organization by the short and curlies. As I said before, I've done a video before. One scientist had to resign. I think he was 75 anyway. But I think, to be honest with you, he didn't look like he was wanting to retire. But he had to retire for a comment that he made that I think some of the females tended to cry when you criticize them or get upset or whatever. And so, he left. It's funny, some people just don't realize that what they're going to say in this day and age will get you fired. Now, either they're literally just don't believe what they're saying is going to get them fired. I mean, if you look at tennis, when a guy, again, close to retirement, I think he was in his 70s, made the comment that, the female game would seriously be in problems if it hadn't got the men's game to ride on its coattails. That caused the storm with that hacked off Serena Williams as usual. So he resigned. So this is what's going to happen now. You cannot tell the truth, and you will be sacked. So this guy's going to be sacked. It's just, it's like the lionesses around the wildebeest, waiting to finish it off. Let's go through this. Here we go. Statement. Considers the presentation delivered by an invited scientist during a workshop as highly offensive and supports the many members of the community that have expressed their indignation. Blah 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 blah. Oh, at Women in STEM, it says. This is quite interesting. We want to be accepted into the club. Why not? But why don't you set up your own club of women scientists and come out with seriously new, fresh ideas to challenge the ones that we have at the moment? Where is the female Einstein? The female Newton? I can't remember the gentleman that died recently, who was in the wheelchair. People will know. Forgotten the name. Yeah, I mean, let's see some real female scientists that will go out there. Because back in the day when scientists, in the 17th century, the 18th century, and before, they didn't have a lot of the time money. They had to garner their own cash, or they had to go and, beg and talk to people. Some were lucky enough to have inherited money. But when they did, they put all that money into the research. There were some scientists that really literally put their life and died to fulfill an experiment to find out the result. And some really did pursue it close to death's door. Physicists from across the world are continuing to add their names to the statement. So this is just a more what they're just you tell the truth, doesn't matter. When it comes to women, anything you say that is truthful, okay, about women, if it doesn't follow exactly the narrative that they want, which is the feminist narrative, you're finished, toast. So the professor's arguments are morally reprehensible, it reads, belittling the ability and legitimacy of scientists of color and white women scientists using such flimsy pretexts is disgraceful. And it reveals a deep contempt for more than half of humanity that clearly comes from some source other than scientific logic. The works at which the professor was speaking was aimed at helping women to become particle scientists. But the audience of early career researchers were upset and angered by his analysis of published research papers from an online library. Of course they're going to be. They never, you see, no matter how you can do it from the Google employee who got sacked, Demore angle, where you present all the facts and you're very careful of what you say, and you present it to them, you get sacked. Simple as that. Or you can present it in the way that this guy has done, much more forceful. You'll still get sacked. Doesn't matter which way you present it. It must never ever be presented, regardless. No advice can be got from straight white males. None. They must never ever, as of now, say anything that is telling the truth in regards to women and their abilities. He told them that his analysis showed that physics was not sexist against women. He produced a series of graphs which he claimed demonstrated that women were hired over men whose research had been cited more highly in publications and an indication of higher quality. The professor also presented data that he claimed showed that male and female researchers were equally cited at the start of their career before men then overtook women as their careers progressed because of various things, probably because they are having babies or whatever. They leave. I don't know. In addition, he highlighted behavioral research that he said indicated that the assumption that men and women have identical brains is an ideology. Men and women don't have identical brains. They don't have identical brains. It's nonsense. How can they be the same? Men and women don't have the same brains. You know, they are slightly different. The statement at particlesforjustice.org examines each of the claims and dismisses them. Of course they do. The professor claimed to be proving that there is no discrimination against women, but his arguments were rooted in circumscribed, biased reading of the data available, to the point of promoting a perspective that is biased against women, it states. The origin and validity of the data he presented have not yet been corroborated. But even now, listen to this. But even if we take at face value, in all cases, there are obvious alternative explanations and are directly in contradiction with his conclusions. So they're saying that no matter what, even if you take it as face value, there is an alternative answer to that particular question, period, to explain supposedly whatever nonsense they want to bring forward as the alternative. So even if the facts tell you that the moon is made of cheese, it's not made of green cheese, but is actually is a big giant massive rock, they will tell you no. The alternative is it's actually the moon is actually made of green cheese, is actually made of cheese, and you're telling a lie. That kind of nonsense. The professor denied that his use of data was biased. He told the BBC the data about citations and hirings show that women are not discriminated against in fundamental physics. We reward merit, irrespective of gender. The University of Peter said that it is considering a disciplinary review of his actions. Well, you're going to be losing your job, mate. It's as simple as that. You're going to be losing your job. So, yes, gentlemen, you need to protect yourself. There is a battle consistently on this planet now. And if you don't protect yourself from it, you're going to be effectively losing your jobs every time you open your mouth. I mean, even if he doesn't lose his job at the university, there'll be protests. They'll go down there, and the university staff, who, if there's a lot of females there or whatever, they'll boycott him, and they'll stop him from coming into the university. His life is going to be made so difficult and nasty, because this is how these people behave. They're not good people. They're nasty, vile creatures. And they will strike you like a snake. That's what they are. They're snakes. Vile, nasty creatures. Anyway, as I said, you know, we're waiting for the next round. As I said, he will be losing his job. Plain and simple. Thanks for listening.